Hello, and welcome back to the Atomic Cast. It's Tom, Bert, and Michael. Michael, say hi.
Hi.
Bert, say hello.
Hello.
Beautiful. So we're here today. We're on episode 32 of the Atomic Cast, which is probably less than Golem's Gamers have made it to already. If they're doing their 5 videos a week, I'm still on episode 2. If anyone's curious, don't have that much free time in my life, unfortunately. But yeah, if you want loads of stuff, go have a listen. And we are looking at we just practiced this. The Nírnaeth Arnoediad.
Very impressive, Tom. Well done.
Event, which Michael is running in Northern Ireland. So let's kick on. We've got I need to press that button. There we go. We got some little bit of background. So Michael, what kind of event are we running here? What have we got?
Well, this has been a staple event over here for about 20 years now, but it's just starting to really hit the heights as a regular GBHL100. It's also a top sort of event in the league over here in the IHL, so it's an IHL100 too. So anyone entering will be able to, if they care to compete in the league that we have over here, which would be nice to grow the numbers we have. It's the Northern Irish Open for the Ardacon, a big Ardacon event in Manchester that James Clark hosts in August. So, if you win, you get an invite to the Masters event within his event within Ardacon. And then a big first for over here. This is outside of the sort of WTC. This is the biggest, I believe, MESBG event we've had in Northern Ireland or Ireland ever. 56 players currently, and it is one army, 800-point event, 6 rounds in Belfast, Northern Ireland.
What's the twists? It's like just a dead standard six pools, or have you done some funky stuff?
Yeah, I've changed it up a bit whilst hopefully keeping it as standard as you would ideally like GBHL100s to be. So I have gone back to a time when we didn't have the pool system because that's when I preferred life. So each round will be the scenario will be rolled as a 1 of 18, and then there'll be no repetition. So you could get all 3 maelstrom scenarios, you could get lots of objective scenarios, all the killing scenarios could come up. It just depends. It's chaos. It's up to the dice. That's how we play the game. I like it when the scenario choices are like that too. It's less prescriptive in my mind. And I have got a little sort of side quest going on throughout the event where each round, each board will have 3 Silmaril tokens, and they're wee light objects. One model can hold 1 token, and throughout the tournament, every game you'll be seeing how many Silmaril tokens you can pick up and hold. People with the most Silmaril tokens will get the Silmaril prizes as we podium for them at the end of the event. They're really nice prizes, in my opinion. I'd love to win one. So I might just have to steal one if I'm honest and enter the list myself. And then I've changed a few wee scenarios, mainly just some points adjustments in what I consider the swingy scenarios. So Contest of Champions, Seize the Prize, and Heirlooms, yep, quite right. And then I've changed the deployment in Storm the Camp to 24 inches rather than 12.
Good man. Good man.
Just to confirm that the Silmaril thing is completely separate to the tournament, like the tournament points, or is it interlinked?
Oh yeah, no. It might if 2 players drew on your standard VP difference, VP scored, tournament points, win, draws, losses. If everything down the line of tiebreakers was drawn, we might eventually reach Silmarils collected. But it's a separate addition to the event. But it just offers an opportunity for people who want to have fun or want to challenge themselves to compete whilst collecting, to go for that during their games, and it gives me more prizes to hand out. So yeah.
I like a little extra sub theme for those who might not necessarily be aiming for the top, but yeah, something to.
Yeah.
Right, and then we've got some stats and things to have a look at, which Michael has kindly provided. He's also provided to every other podcast in the world, but let's not be bitter about that.
I'm so sorry, Tom.
I thought I was special,
You are special. You are.
So this is a breakdown of the alliances and things coming. So we're pretty heavy on legendary legions and pure allies. Is that a normal thing over in Northern Islands and the island of Ireland in general?
I would think that obviously with the introduction of legendary legions, their appearance on the scene has grown because yes, they bring some theme, but usually they're a little more powerful. Plus, people joining the hobby now, that's what they know, rather than being there back in the day when you were allying random things with random things, or things that made sense with things that made sense. So
Shades and black shields, Warrior goblins.
Well, there was also that era, of course, too. But yeah, I would say your pure armies in green, with a fair chunk of yellows would be the staple, the occasional red as well. But I mean, what I've seen from this sort of breakdown is what I guess I would expect to see now, and I'm quite happy to see it too. In terms of there's a lot of theme here. Yeah.
Did you ban reds, or has the community just self-regulated beautifully?
No, I like to see reds, and I'm very sympathetic to reds. I didn't personally agree with the sort of the nerfing of reds as they were nerfed, although I understand sort of some of the theory behind it, but it's not something I was a fan of. However, we have some players who would occasionally take reds, and the thing I'm most sympathetic to is some like really themey alliances are red or made impossible by the sort of alliance matrix restrictions. So I don't like to see that. But no, there's no banning of that. The only thing sort of banned in inverted commas from this tournament were Tom Goldberry, any armies 3 or under, any armies 81 or over, and Smaug. So yeah.
81 or over. How rude.
So it's a minimum 4 models to a maximum 80 models.
800 points. That's not even that big a horde.
It is over here. You almost never see anything. And to be honest, it's only ever in the WTC I've been up against something that meets those numbers or far exceeds them. And to be honest, I'm not calling out anyone individually here, but I do associate those sort of hordes with a slow play, which is something I'm really down on. I think it becomes quite an oppressive and prohibitive sort of list to play against.
It's definitely something that I've noticed as well. And as a TO, when someone does bring those absurdly big lists, you do end up having to hover around the table and just kind of make sure that the game is progressing at a nice pace.
I strongly considered bringing 100 model Goblin Town to Bert's event on Saturday. Just for the giggle. This was an interesting one. Got a slight shift to good, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, I think evil's in sort of the top spots at the moment, but actually people were preferring to bring good to this event, but very, very even split. It's almost a shame it's not a good for evil event. But yeah,
I think it's you see it skews towards evil at lower points. I think evil just does numbers better. But when you get to the higher points, like 700-800, good has more toys. So your riders are Theoden and stuff, and Aragorns and Gandalfs and like more iconic heroes that you want to play with. They start to become more viable. I think. Yeah. Might be wrong. But I don't know if that's
no, that makes sense to me. But Bert, were you thinking something too?
I mean, I was thinking. I think it's because you're still playing on 4x4 tables as normal, right?
Yes.
So I think there is that thing of most lists, which I haven't seen this, but I'm guessing we're close to a 40 model average, and I think good has more lists where you can hit that 40 models plus, and have some really big funky tech heroes that you can squeeze multiple of. In at this level. So it makes sense, but it's nice to see.
Yeah.
And then this is our faction breakdown. It's quite interesting. You've got 7 Ministerial lists, 6 Mordor, 5 Dragon Emperor, 4 Rivendell, 4 Serpent Horde.
So I should highlight it's a poorly labeled statistic from me. I should say it's a faction breakdown. So if you have a Minas Tirith Rohan alliance, that'll be 1 check for Minas Tirith, 1 check for Rohan.
I see.
But the thing I was most pleased about from this stat is I think Rob highlighted there's 43 factions and legendary legions covered.
That's
Which, you know,
bananas.
it's very diverse tournament. Really nice to see because you're guaranteed to be playing several different things during the event. Although you may well run into 2 Mordors, 2 Dragon Hordes, and 2 Minas Tiriths. Who knows? But
One of the things we've seen when we've looked at the kind of stats on the overall like GBHL participation and things is that Mordor and Minas Tirith still pop up all the time. They're still most definitely the most commonly used armies. As much as you might have your top meta picks, the fact that they're iconic in so much of the films, there's so many hero options. You can build them however way you want. Like they're really easy to get hold of. Like apart from like Black Numenorians and a couple of other bits, like you can build a Minas Tirith Mordor list however you want to. Like if you say to me, "I'm bringing Mordor," I still have no idea what you're bringing.
yes, exactly.
But nice.
Yeah. It's a great thing about those particular forces. Oh, sorry, bear with me. Bert, you make your comment up just to run to the door. Sorry.
Okay. No, I was just going to say that it's seeing Mordor being quite a la mode at the moment. It does kind of make sense, especially at these higher points where you can go for like multiple casters and stuff. Whereas in Minas Tirith, other than Gandalf at a big points cost, doesn't really have access to the same tools in the same way. But I think we may have found Minas Tirith has found some other toys to play with. And as people like Jake Rawson have shown, there is with this like Arnold, Minas Tirith does have access to fielding a large number of the high defense, fight 4, fight 5 dudes. And in a strength 3 meta, those D6, D7 troops are just really, really good. So yeah, it's good to see that these lovely old like 18, 20-year-old sculpts are still cutting the mustard to the degree that they are.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And yeah, did you mention the range of alliances they have? Sorry, there.
No, I didn't. No.
Yeah, no, they like the range of green alliances, especially Mordor, because evil is quite restricted on the alliance matrices. But they can, you know, you've got Harad can jump in, or the Slings, I think, and so on. So
Brad,
you
Eastlings,
can mix and
are the
match.
Corsairs yellow or green?
I want to say green, but they might not be. I don't have a book to hand, sorry.
Bert does because he's prepared.
I do.
Legend.
It's a pleasant coincidence. It never happens. In fairness, Mordor Green Alliances. It's actually
it's like half of the evil list, yeah.
No, it's 2.
Oh, Harad and
Eastlings.
Harad and Eastlings, okay.
That's actually, that's actually obviously. If you think how much that encompasses, it is huge.
But then they're yellow with so much more.
They are. I mean,
yeah.
there's pretty much. Are there any? There are a few reds, but it's usually the stuff that just temporarily doesn't work. But being able to do a yellow alliance and chucking a Watcher in the water or something wild like that is just kind of fun.
Yeah, no, they can work well like that because you can get most of your army from Mordor with a powerful force, and then you can bring in the Spider Queen or the Watcher in the water, or something from Khand or the Corsairs. Who knows? Whatever you like, but you can bring it in.
The Watcher does need a friend if he's coming, but
yeah, but Durbers for 70 points will do near enough, and you can still get a sizable army plus some
or
goblins.
just a dragon if you're feeling cool.
Or a dragon.
Make dragons cool again.
But I think also like Minas Tirith and Mordor in the meta haven't suffered. So they, you know, if you've got, for example, I know people have highlighted Assault and Lothlórien as being quite powerful. It can be quite strong, especially in the right hands. But you know, Minas Tirith can still bulk out to decent numbers and go up and punch it in the face. Mordor with strength 4 D6 troops can go up and punch it in the face with good numbers. So these are things that can adapt more easily than maybe certain other elite armies that were previously doing well.
Mordor also has the Terror and the Shadow Lord tech to throw into it to just kind of
Yep.
really mess those lists up.
Yep.
Sweet. And then over here we've got the might points and number of heroes, which I've kind of put on the same thing because they're quite similar. There's a few outliers because there were a few Grey Company lists, which have really skewed everything. I think there's also Black Riders, and a couple of there's a Foreigns Company. And a couple of other like all hero lists that really skew it out. But you can see most of it kind of sits around that 3, 4, 5, 6 warband size.
It's still surprising that many lists. Because I think like a lot of lists that I look at, like if you look at Jimmy's event at 550, it was like that toss up of do you have like 2 or 3 warbands quite a lot of the time at 550. And it's amazing that you can go all the way up to 800 and you still have a decent chunk of lists that are still sticking with just 3 warbands. I think that speaks to the sort of caliber of heroes that people are actually.
So I think most of those tend to be your Rivendels, your Halls of Thranduil, and things like Dragon Emperors, that kind of category. They're all kind of free hero lists, I would expect. Ones where you've got multiple, either like multiple heroes of valor. So like the elves, they have multiple heroes of valor. Minas Tirith will have valor and legend or something in there. And then Dragon Emperor, you've got your Dragon Emps, the Borgir and Ratabi, say. Fills out quite nicely. And then these kind of 6 hero ones feel like a Lake Town situation, or anyone trying to bring like a Moria Horde or Assault on Lothlórien. They'll all be up there. Because if you think we're Lake Town, you're bringing at least 3 warbands of Lake Town, plus 1 or 2 friends. Maybe even 3 if you're feeling spicy. So that's where I think they're coming in.
Yeah, the oddly enough, the 9 hero one is actually just 1 warband, and it's not one of the obvious ones. It's one of the Azog's Legion armies. I don't know if you've pulled that out to cover that.
I have, yes.
Okay. Well, we'll come on to that then.
Absolutely have. I wanted to talk to you as a TO about it as well. It's delightful.
Oh, great.
And then we've done model count and bows. I do find it fun how many people still bring just no bows. And then some bring 26, which is just a disgusting amount of shooting.
I think that'll be hobbits, that particular one.
Hobbits and pure Harrod.
Hobbits, you've got Serpent Horde, yes. I think you've got a Minas Tirith Rohan alliance where the Riders of Rohan aren't contributing to the bow count, so you can still get some decent ranger support behind them. There's a Corsairs list, but that might just be 12 bows. There's another Riders of Theoden list. That I've not included the throwing weapons in the bows, but there's a bunch of lists with lots of throwing weapons too.
Then your model count sitting right around that 40 line, which we I think we know. Once you hit there, you're starting to get into diminishing returns in terms, unless you're properly hoarding out. Who's hit bang on 80?
That'll be our lovely Gareth, who's taken 79 hobbits, 76 hobbits, 3 dogs, and a certain strider.
I respect the hitting the limit exactly on the nose.
Yeah. He wanted to do all hobbits and was very cross with me when I said, sorry, it's an 80 model limit. But he's there for a good time. He's a lovely fella, and looking forward to him watching his hobbits just get decimated or just choking the life out of his opponent, depending on how it goes. But yeah,
I'd like to see it play against a 5 model list. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Could happen. Who knows?
I would not want to have any part of that game. It sounds appalling.
And then we're moving into some actual lists. So the first 2 I pulled up are 2 quite similar Mordor lists, but they do have some distinct differences. So I'll run through the one on the left. So we've got Gurit, the Master of Reserves. He's our leader. He's got a little drummer boy in there with him. He has got 10 Morannons. They've all got shields, 5 of them have got spears, and an Orc warrior with a banner. He has got Kardouche, the Firecaller. He's got 4 trackers and then 8 Morannons, all with shields, 4 with spears. He's got Gorbag with a shield. He's got 10 Morannons with shields, 5 with spears. He's got Zagdush. He's got 10 Morannons, 10 with shields, 5 with spears. And Grishnak with a shield, 12 Morannons, all with shields, 6 with spear. And I forgot to put in how many models it is, but it's an awful lot.
64 thing.
Thoughts, feelings?
I think that one's 61. I think
61,
the
yeah.
one on the right is 65.
30.
How many of these heroes have strike? Gorbag, Grishnak.
Yeah, Gorbag and Grishnak. Yeah.
Does Zagdush not have strike?
He may do. He might have strength. I don't know.
I think he's got strength and challenge or something bizarre. I mean, this feels a lot like just the at 550. Arnold's really good because it's loads of D6. This is almost like mini Easterlings, where it's just it moves really quickly with a horde of D6, and just tries to win games by having an absurd number of models. It's really interesting to look at the list and see how much strength 4 there actually is, but at first glance, it looks like a lot of men, a lot of elves, regular orcs. So if this just runs the whole way through and just fights against strength 3 armies, there really isn't that much that can kill models at the required rate.
Zagdush does have strike, just to clarify.
He does have strike.
Okay, he does. Yeah, we've got.
Yeah, he's a free attack striker.
There's 50 strength 4 models in that list with D6 as troops, and then you've got a few orc trackers and a orc warrior with banner. Just backing that up.
5 2-handed pick murder machine that is Gurits.
I guess it's one of those nice things where I mean, I actively. So being Atomic Chaos, I don't want to do the maths right now. But it's one of those things where if they used to be they would have a 1 in 3 chance of coming up against of playing Lords of Battle, which this may not have the absolute best time against because there's just so many models and no enormous choppy hero. But if you're doing just random scenarios, that is not impossible that you'll just dodge it completely and just not have that bad a time.
Is it not a higher than 1 in 3 chance of playing it? If you have, in theory, it's a 6 in 18 chance, but obviously every round you drop, so it's a 1 in 8. It's a 1 in 18, then a 1 in 17, then a 1 in 16, and a 1 in 15, and a 1 in 14, and a 1 in 13, and a 1 in 12.
And sorry, this is me struggling with my GCSE maths. When you times fractions, do you add them together? Is that it?
It's 17 times 16 down to 30, whatever it is, over 18 down to 13, whatever it is, and then take that away from 1. It's something like that. There we go.
You don't get this on a Collins game, I'll tell you that.
No, they don't know how numbers work.
They've not reached GCSEs yet. I don't think so.
But I think the slightly chaotic nature of the scenarios could actually play into this army strength quite a lot. Like playing when you have this many models and every Kardashian is 2 might or 3? 2?
1, isn't it?
1. Okay. So I guess you'd bring on with Gurits around as well. You're gonna get 60 models arriving where you want to. You've got a drummer march for days. Do you want to play hold ground against this? Not really. Do you want to play command the battlefield against this? Absolutely not. So if it gets a good run and gets a couple of those scenarios, this could do really well. I like it. It's fun and chaotic and doesn't give a damn about big.
It's the kind of thing I wish I saw more.
Yeah, I agree.
Just good, honest fun. Everyone gets too distracted by like stinky ring wraiths and things. And then opposite it, we've got something similar, but with Mordor orcs rather than Morannons, but bigger, scary heroes. So we've got Goroth as your leader. There's a piece of thing on there, but I assume it says 6 Morannon orcs with shields and 6 Morannon orcs with. I assume this is a typo where it's not 6 Morannon orcs with banners. It's
just
a singular banner.
Yeah.
Oh, otherwise that's glorious.
That would be hilarious, but it could do well. It could probably stretch across the force.
Especially if he's getting it for 69 points, 79 points. A Taskmaster who's affectionately called Greg Davies, which I like. And then 9 Mordor orcs, 3 of them with spears. And 2 orcs with shield and spear. And then a little drummer boy. Kardouche with 12 trackers. Shaggers with his shield and armor. 12 orcs with shields and 6 of them have got spears. And then Gorbag with a shield and 12 orcs with shields and 6 spears. So its numbers are a little bit lower, I think.
No, they're higher. They're
higher. Oh, the trackers, yeah.
I think one of them's I don't have my list stuff here with me. It's one of them 65, one of them 61. Like so,
30,
this is
there's not much in it either way.
39, 40.
And then you've got
52, 53,
Shaggers and Goroth being bigger, scarier heroes, but still 3 might strikers. You've still got 3. Like you've got 9 strikeable points of might in this list as well.
Yeah, and it's more efficient with might as well. With the Taskmaster.
With the Taskmaster.
Is the Taskmaster once per turn, or is it once per turn per hero?
It's
Or is it every time?
It's every time you call a heroic action, or is it spend a might point? I'm not very familiar with the Taskmaster.
I think it's only moves. Is it only moves and marches, or is it everything? I've never used one.
Oh, this is a fact. Each time a friendly hero model attempts a heroic move, march, or shoot. So just move, march, and shoot. However, if it's every time, that is going to. It's a half chance it's going to be free. Who actually has march?
Most of them.
Because you can be marching, and again, 65 models moving 12 inches is filthy. It's really.
Kardouche doesn't have march. Shagrat doesn't have march. I don't think Gorbag has march. No. And Goroth doesn't. I don't know.
So maybe it's just a Taskmaster. Is it just a Taskmaster's got march?
It would make sense if he did, but I'm not sure he does.
Gorbag doesn't. Shagrat doesn't.
Yeah, it's just a Taskmaster.
Yeah.
Okay.
But even so, move 9 a turn is still very good. Like.
Oh yeah, well, move 9 plus drum is really, really, really good. When it's one of those things, bro, because this is such a large number of dudes. It's like lots of lists are like 500. They'll march and move 25, 30 models across the board, which is nice. It helps. But when it's 65 models, like that profit just multiplies really, really, really well. The interesting choice is Goroth leader as opposed to Shagrat.
Let Shagrat be free.
And I think it's the survivability potential for Goroth. He can just grab an orc and throw him in front of him.
Okay, Goroth also 5/5?
Yes.
And I guess hits equally hard. Just can't get the might back in quite the same way. Yeah, I guess. Well, I guess
he's D6 rather than D7. Other than that, and then he's got his 2-up kill an orc model rule.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense.
So yeah, he's more survivable than Shaggers is, and you can set Shaggers loose.
It's just cool.
No hero in the game really feels comfortable with Shagrat charging into them on foot.
No, that's fair.
He's a tough cookie.
He charges in, he strikes up. If you lose the fight, you're going to die. Because
He's got good potential, luck. And Blood and Glory is always a nasty prospect.
Because he will spend all of his might to kill you.
Sure.
Just get back.
Yeah.
He's a big scary boy. Especially if you've got Kardouche throwing fireballs at your horses, dropping you off the horse. And
I also kind of like how you have the heroes and the bodies around, and the might. So if you with the move up in the right selection, if it's even a really tough hero, like you could look at like a lender, and if you win that fight, you can easily actually throw in like Goroth striking. Shagrat can just go for heroic strength for no good reason, and suddenly be like double strikes on you on the ground, wounding you on 5s or even 4s. Like that's one-shotting a Lendil. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Welcome to Mordor, Bert.
No, it's cool. It's a whole new world.
If you guys were coming to the tournament and you had to choose one of these two lists to bring, which would you prefer to bring?
I personally prefer the versatility of the left, so the Morannon-based one. It has more options of the heroes, I think.
I think I'd agree. I think Gurix is just phenomenally useful, and the ability to potentially run into 2 Maelstrom scenarios. And when you can be that efficient and just get your whole army moving that well, is if that comes off, it's an amazing boon for the list. And I think a lot of lists we're going to see are strength 3, and I would just worry that your fight 3 D5 or D4 D5 orcs are just going to get shredded by throwing weapons. Is just going to be brutal.
There's actually 20 odd defense 4 models in the other list as well. You got 12 trackers.
Yeah. It's essentially anything where strength 3 is moving you on 5s or better.
Yeah, I just meant for strength 2 bows.
Yeah, that's fair.
We've seen lists with 20 plus bows in them.
Yeah, this list can have a really bad time against hobbits. So I think I'll put them on the left for survivability. How long are the rounds, by the way?
2 hours 15.
Okay.
Yeah. So the reason I put these 2 first is because I thought it'd be quite fun to kind of compare back at them when you think about the other lists. Use them as a little bit of a, can I kill 60 Morannon orcs with this list?
If I happened to be a betting man, I would bet on the left-hand list, ranking slightly higher. But again, who knows?
Well, there you go, Connor Kerr. They've slapped you in the face with a gauntlet. See how you can do.
Is that Connor?
I was deliberately not mentioning any names.
Sorry.
I vaguely met Connor and Tiffany. He's like a lovely lad. So yeah, I'd like to see him do well.
So having looked at those, I've then got a defense 4 army to play with. So we've got Dalamir, 12 Corsairs, 6 with spear, 6 with shield. Delgamar, 12 Corsairs, 6 with shield, 6 with spear. A Hasharin, 9 Corsairs with shield, and a Bosun with shield and spear, 6 Arbalesters, 4 Reavers, and then a Bosun with spear, 6 Arbalesters, 4 Reavers. So you got 12 crossbows and a sugar ton of throwing weapons. Thoughts, feelings, Bert?
I play the wrong lists to be excessively worried about Corsairs, and again, this one it's a weirdly big swing, and I have the same thing because I play a lot of throwing weapons and strength 3 bows. Of if I go through a tournament and I play against a lot of D5 or lower, then I'm wandering around the hall with a massive grin on my face the entire time. However, if I go through the event and I go Minas Tirith, Easterlings, Black Númenóreans, I'm just going around like just collecting my tears. I don't know whether fight 4 is going to be enough to win the fights that you need to. So it might be dependent, but I would worry that this list could come up against a load of fight 4, fight 5, D6, and just keep just throwing cool noodles against a brick wall for the whole tournament. Having said that, it's damn cool, and in the right scenarios, the Arbalesters are going to rip things like a Dragon Emperor to shreds, and I think that's really cool. Plus a Hasharin, I like having that little grenade model that you can just lob into your lines. Aside from like fog or assassination, that you can just go. It doesn't matter if he dies. He's got 3 attacks. He's gonna kill everything on 5. He's gonna reroll all failed wounds. He's gonna kill 2 or 3 dudes a turn. That is awesome. And you don't see him enough on the table.
They really upset me because they do almost the exact opposite of what I want them to do. Because I want them to be little hero killing assassins.
Oh no, they're crap at it.
But they're really good at clearing troops.
Yeah.
And it really stresses me out.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I've got to assassin my force. I'll just like lob it into that hit. Oh, it's dead. Okay, cool.
What I actually love to see is that if they were like, if they like a special rule where they were only like a 1 might hero, but if they went to be assassinated against enemy hero, if they were dueling an enemy hero, they got a 3 strike.
Or I'd like them to have like a Razor type rule.
Yeah,
where you can pick a hero at the start of the
that.
game. I'm going to go kill that hero because I'm an assassin.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be really cool.
You get your, extra fight against that one hero or something. That'd be really cool.
It would be pretty cool. That's a neat change. Yeah.
But as it is, if you want something to lob into 2 Black Nírnaeth a turn, and with a spear supporting the banner behind it, and just win, and because three dice re-rolling all failed wounds, I think you're pretty likely to kill 2. You're decent likelihood to kill 2.
I take some mild offense to the lack of spears. There's only 12 spears in here. But then obviously you're trying to trap and surround things, but I don't know if it's got enough to actually trap and surround people.
I think it's 58 models. Yeah, you'd want. I think the other thing is speaking to a couple of if you listen to like Kylie on Green Dragon, or other people who play Corsairs, maybe you could drop some of those shields, get a few more lads, a few more spear supports, and then you don't mind having the more D3 lads that you can chuck in there throwing weapons to deny heroic combat. So yeah, I think you could definitely find some more, like the 9 Corsairs with shield with the Hasharin. You can make that 4 and 5 split in some way, just to get more spear supports and just press that advantage. Because if you're rolling 1 dice, maybe 2 of the bosuns nearby, against a fight for shield wall, and their D6 and your D3 or D4, you're just gonna melt through that through lack of dice.
I think it's one of those, but 2 years ago this was really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Legendary Legions have come out and kind of moved on the game a little bit past it. And it just needs a little bit more, I think. Just a little bit, a little bit of love.
Having said that, if AOL comes up against this, that'll be funny as hell. Because this should walk through AOL like butter.
Yeah, once it gets within range, it's gonna have fun.
Are you referring to Lothlórien as AOL?
Assault on Loth, yeah.
I think I was pleased to see this list. The guy running it, very creative, lovely player, but we don't really see Corsairs on our scene too much. They've cropped up now and then. I think previously maybe with a bit of a Serpent Horde allied into it. You might get some Platinum Lawrence in there, but
I've seen the list played by people who were more competitive 2 or 3 years ago. Put it that way.
I sold mine.
I think they're a class force. Like I have one. I just want to get it painted up, but it's I think they look pretty cool, and the potential to turn them into sort of Pirates of the Caribbean is pretty nifty.
I loved them, had a great fun time with them, but they just weren't getting it done for me anymore. So they had to go. It's ruthless. Rather annoyingly, I also sent a load of Black Nírnaeth away with them, and I wish I want them back. Yeah. All right. We're into what I've affectionately referred to as the Lake Town section. There are 3 Lake Town lists. So these are the first 2. Also, these are the last lists before Michael taught me how to use a computer. So on the left, we've got Lake Town and some dwarfy friends and a Gwai here and a Legolas and all kinds of sun. This is like the most soupy Lake Town of all the soupy Lake Town lists. I assume by hot he means Hall of Frando. It's not just thinks Legolas is hot. But
he knows what he means. It covers several bases as well.
He's got the Master of Lake Town in there with 14 blokes, 4 bows, 3 bow spear, 5 just regular ones, and 2 with spears. Braga, 12 blokes, all of them with spears, and 2 of them have bows. So there's 9 bows total in the Lake Town contingent. Then Dwalin, hasn't written which Dwellin, but at 115, I think that's the champion of Erebor Dwellin.
Yeah, champion of Erebor, yeah.
Erebor Dwellin on foot. 1 dwarf with spear, shield, and mana, and 12 dwarfs with sword and shield. And then Guy here and Legolas on horse with a cloak as his leader. Quick question on that. Can't remember off the top of my head. Do you get the benefit of cloak if you're on a horse?
No, but I assume it's if he comes up against Black Riders, something with heavy shooting AOL, he can jump off the horse behind terrain and know that he's going to be fairly safe behind army lines out of 12 or out of 6, wherever, whatever. So it's more survivable like that. So it's a sort of contingency plan.
No Alfred?
No Alfred. This was the big thing that surprised me. However, my reasoning that I understand is that because this is each round is 1 in 18, 1 in 17, and so on. Theoretically, Fog of War, Assassination, and 3 Maelstrom scenarios could come up, which is not ideal for Alfred necessarily, depending on what you roll, and certainly the ones where you target a hero. Alfred is almost always the lad who gets targeted.
Both of these
so
late
it
heroes
doesn't
have defense as well.
Mm.
So that's quite nice. I think Dwellin does as well, or does he have strength and strike?
It's strength and strike, I believe, definitely. Not sure.
So yeah, they're all surprisingly survivable, some of these boys. And then the way he's built it looks like he's going dwarfs in the front, Lake Town in the back. To give himself a nice like D7 front with
yeah.
But
And you've got this strength 4 killing power there too.
So I think it's just odd seeing the Lake Town. Actually, again, Lake Town engine. While we're talking about this, I am absolutely certain that we were talking about the phrase Lake Town engine way back in like February. And on Golem's Gamers, I believe it was accredited to Mr. Evans before their preview. I am absolutely certain that we were talking about this back in January, February. So I'm going to reclaim that piece of beautiful wordery for the Atomic Cast.
I think you would have been using the phrase Lake Town engine for about 5 years at least. So yeah.
Didn't say me personally, but we could say it was the Atomic Cast.
Okay, I wouldn't try and claim that as a thing that you invented.
Oh no. But yeah, it feels odd going for I want a Lake Town soup list and then doing 2 warbands of it.
No, but this is soup. This isn't necessarily Lake Town soup. This is soup of all the flavors. There's 4 different flavors of soup in here, but
it just feels like one of those. I think it's just like it's like out of left field. Like, you feel like there's multiple directions that you can lean in with these soup lists, and I think some go for the more control elements, which we will see maybe in the next list. I think some go for Tom's a fan of the Lake Town Super Smash Brothers list with Dwellin and Thorin, and this is because it's almost you got so Legolas is the kind of control piece, but you've only got 2 of the 3 Lake Town warbands, so it's not super high on numbers. You've got the dwarves, but you haven't got the blinding light for shooting. It is like I think it's trying to go in many directions at once, so it could do great. But I feel like maybe it isn't leaning hard enough in one direction to do one thing really, really, really well.
It covers a lot of bases in my books. It's not a style of list I've thought about when thinking about Lake Town soup, or in this case, soup in general. But yeah, it's got an answer for a lot of things. And ultimately, Alfred is a nice potential 3 extra might to have, but if you're tossing up whether he's a liability as well in light of the potential scenarios that could come up, or whether the list actually has enough might already, I can see why he's not included.
I think they'll be fine for the might. I think Alfred's just a liability in this list. I'm not upset about him being gone.
What's the count?
It's about 43.
Yeah, it's low 40s, I think.
Yeah. I think that's my slight concern. Is against some heavy shooting, like the late time dudes can die. So you're really, really, really relying on those dwarves. I think in scenarios where you need to split up, this may struggle. But I would like Lords of Battle to the death. I really, really, really do not want to play against this list.
Mm.
So it's one of the more interesting ones.
So then we've got the other Lake Town, which is a more elf-infused Lake Town. So we've got the Master 13 Lake Town boys with a mixture of spears and bows and stuff. Alfred 12 Lake Town boys with a mixture of bows and spears and stuff. Braga 11 Lake Town boys with a mixture of bows and stuff. And then Glorfindel on Asfaloth with the armor of Gondolin, Gwaihir and Kieran with 4 elves with shields, 3 with spear, 1 with a banner. Go.
Oh, that's someone else talk.
If I were building the Lake Town soup, this is how I would build it. Or something very similar at least. The only difference would be I would probably take Glorfindel as my leader and not the Master. But otherwise, yeah, you bulk out with Lake Town. You've 3 staple heroes. You've got Cerdam with his auras. You've got a banner in there. You've got a big monster. Whether or not he's reliable enough, I'll leave that to you. I don't think he is, and then you've got Glorfindel with Fortify Spirit, who can do some decent work, but he's also survivable enough. So yeah.
I think if I was going to like a 700 or 805 point tournament in the near future, I would probably take something alarmingly similar to this, but without the eagle, because I don't like his unreliable nature.
Yeah.
I'd probably use the points to put in more elves, to be honest, with more spears. And
you get a tidy number of troops with that.
Yeah, maybe about 54 troops. With a captain, just for a bit of extra might in 2 places.
The ability to have fight 5 support. It's when you got blinding light up, and then you have a good sized banner and loads of dudes, and the battle lines fight 5. There really isn't that much that you actually want, that you're that worried about, because against terror and things, most of the terror battle lines are fight 4, like Black Nírnaeth and stuff. So you're kind of winning those fights a lot, and you outnumber them enormously. And so trying to find the thing to turn off with this list, because if you don't turn off the really good battle line, you're kind of just going to grind out. And with Kieran just lobbing a free enchanted blades on an elf support, that's actually pretty brutal. And then you're looking at, well, do you try and get the leader DPs? Do you try and turn off the big flappy birds? Do you try and turn off the blinding light? There's so many just really good pieces in this that are hard to turn off. I think it's dead strong at a big point count.
I mean, I like Enchanted Blades on Gwaihir. Again, I do like, he's unreliable in the duel. He's then, even with a banner nearby, if you can get close to him, he's unreliable with killing sometimes too, because strength 6 seems lovely, but it might not always do the job, and he's limited might. So, getting the rerolls on the strength 6 is quite nice. It is a disturb force, and when it goes against evil, it's nice with those fight 5 spear supports. I have opted to take Legolas previously, because having a few, or at least one Mirkwood elf with elven glaives spear supporting and a banner nearby is quite nice for when Suladan runs at you, because suddenly, instead of him confidently bowling over 1 or 2 Lake Town troops with a heroic combat and moving on to cut down 2 more, he's got to go, actually, I'm potentially facing an even number of dice against me, with a fight 5 and the elven weapon influencing the roll-off. So it's probably better if I strike. And then, great, he's wasted a might point killing 1 or 2 troops. So
the Dragon Emperor matchup is one of the reasons I've lent into some more 5/5, just to kind of help grind that out a little bit. It does really suck when you've got your whole line of Lake Town and you actually lower fight than everyone anyway, and they've got a bigger banner than you, and it's just a bit they're doing what I do but better. So being able to have 5/5 behind them means you don't have to like burn the banner constantly as well. You can just kind of go, well, I've got the banner. It's quite nice. No, I do like it. It's always the Gwai here. What do you put in that Gwai here role? Because you can also put Bilbo in, and then pump up the troops. Bilbo from Rivendell.
Yes, you could. I've gone for Legolas and troops before. The only problem with that approach is you lose a little of your killing power. You gain a sniper, but your killing power in combat suffers. I'm looking at the list on the left with Legolas as the leader and thinking if I were running that list or something similar, I might drop a couple dwarves and stick in a couple lads, Mirkwood elves with glaives, just to have a 5/5 elven weapon support at the back. But I assume that similar thought has gone through this competitor's mind, and they've gone, what I don't want to do with potentially 3 Maelstrom scenarios coming up as well is split my force between too many different war bands so that it's quite spread out. Because Legolas himself can come onto the board and run, but if he's got 2 6-inch lads moving slowly behind him, they could get overwhelmed, and that usefulness is gone.
My only real concern on the right is where you've got Alfred and Círdan. Like the elves are in Círdan's warband. He's only got 1 might, so if he gets maelstrommed, he might end up on his own somewhere. And then you lose the elves as well with your banner as well. Whereas I'd like to see that in Glorfindel's warbands just to keep it safe. Although Glorfindel is not your leader, so you can do some stuff I've done with Dwalin where I've had like Thorin and Dwalin on goats. And I've just kind of gone, you know what? That's fine. Put Dwalin in the middle of your lines. Deal with him. Like, you've now got him running around killing stuff.
Yeah.
But
I mean, if it's Maelstrom on the right, I'm dropping Círdan first, and then I will might up to be all around him, and I'll leave Alfred to the luck of the dice.
This makes sense.
It's a bit sucky to lose all those troops potentially, but they can also delay if they get dropped near to the enemy. They can delay them a wee while. I think Círdan's buffs really boost this list, and I prefer them over an extra 3 might.
Alfred can use his 12 blokes to just fill a hole. So I don't know if it says other Lake Town hero in Alfred's thing. I might just say Lake Town hero on his rule.
It's anyone from Lake Town that isn't. No, it's anyone from Lake Town, like any hero.
And then we've got our third Lake Town and friends. So we've got Saruman the White on horse as his leader, Galadriel Lady of Light. It's a bit of a throwback. Master of Lake Town and 13 Lake Town Guard. Alfred and 12, and Braga and 12, and Gwaihir. This is potentially my favorite of the 3.
Okay.
This one.
Sorry, go on.
This one scares me. This one, actually really, really, really scares me. I really, really, really would not want to face this because I get someone who goes 2 white council members. It's not usually someone going for I'll go something fluffy. This is someone going for a very, very strong list. It's someone who can get that much out of 2 really good casters of Needle and these numbers. This would be like the nut low matchup for a lot of people because it's so hard to execute an actual battle plan with those with a big flappy and 2 really good casters around. This one properly scares me.
I don't think you put those 3 heroes in the list unless you know what you're going to do with them.
Exactly. That's what scares me. I think some people will drop in a Saruman, but I think people who actually drop in Saruman and Galadriel and Gwaihir, this is not someone just here for a fluffy time. This is someone I think who really knows what they're doing. And we don't have the names in front of us, but it would surprise me if this person wasn't high in the GBHL.
Well, it's without hopefully spoiling again, this is somebody who does win most sportings. So they're able to, which just shows the sort of the quality of their play. They're able to win most sportings whilst also doing very well.
You've got Curtis to come to your event, and he's bringing this.
I wish.
Disappointing.
No, Curtis was swayed by some evil event happening on the same weekend that some absolute scoundrel decided to. I mean, I like this build. My problem with it, having run similar stuff or the same stuff before, is it's lacking a banner. I think what I've done before is I would drop Saruman for Radagast on Ego with Sebastian, and then instead of Gwaihir, I would have Legolas with an elf with banner and glaive, maybe another elf, if I have the points. And that covers off, the banner scenarios. Yeah, you're a little less killy, but you do have an ego in there if you need, and you still got some strength of magic behind you. And it also means the master is less likely to be shut down, which is quite nice when he's doing his sort of fight line buff.
Jakob doesn't
so
put banners in it
work.
because he enjoys the extra challenge. So,
but yeah, you've got command here. Saruman's got 18-inch command, doesn't he?
18 inch, 18 inch, yeah, it's 18 inch.
Yeah, it's compel, yeah.
So yeah. It's this insane, like, was it like 28 inch threat range for
28 inch threat range on Seize the Prize and things where you can just you can let the guy think they're getting it off the board, let him to a full sense of security, and then you go, cool, Saruman's gonna make you drop it. Thanks.
But you've got, he works well with Gwaihir, because I do find Gwaihir to be quite unreliable. But you can take, like, Gwaihir is always a threat, and I think the threat does more than he does in actual practice. But when he's paired with a decent command and an excellent caster, he becomes that much more lethal and that much more of a potential threat.
Your Rohan lists can't sit just like on the edge of their 10-inch charge range and kind of go, cool, come on then, because Saruman goes, okay, well, I'm going to pick that one, pull him over there. Gwaihir's going to fly over and hurl him straight back through the middle of all your horses.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
I think Rohan just looks at this list and cries. I don't know what they think they're going to do against this.
And then you've got obviously Saruman buffs Lake Town with all of the right things. So he sorts their courage issues out. He's a really survivable leader. He adds a little bit of fight 5 on a horse if you want him to be. You have the opportunity late game. And then he's got just really reliable ability to shut down other heroes, because while you may not have a big combat threat of your own, neither does the other person, because you've got Saruman and Galadriel saying no. You resist one, that's fine, you're going to get hit with another one. Then it's my line against yours, basically.
I mean, I think the cool thing is also the way this is constructed. You're going to get Saruman. I think Gwaihir may end up burning his might just to like win fights, which is fine. But Saruman can end up hitting the late game with 2 or 3 points of might fairly regularly, I would have thought.
Yeah.
So again, with a cheeky, I don't know, channeled transfix with a few lads. A Saruman heroic combat is actually a thing that can really change things. I think he's a really good versatile hero. So no, I think it's a properly terrifying list.
The reason I'm bringing him on Sunday.
Yes, I played. So yes, for spoilers, Tom's big one. It's just Lake Town Saruman, isn't it? Yeah. It's brutal. It's really tough.
All right, so out of the 3 Lake Town and Friends lists, which one's your favorite? But
like my favorite in terms of which one would I absolutely not want to play again.
Which one's going to do the best?
This one with Saruman and Galadriel. Yeah. I think it's got more. So this one means about like really leaning in to one aspect and not trying to do a little bit of everything. So this one doesn't. It's got Gwaihir,
that can be unreliable. But because of the amount of control that you have, you're able to pick where you commit Gwaihir and utilize him the absolute best. And I think that also contributes to the player using it will find some phenomenal spots for Gwaihir to do Gwaihir things. I think the others, I think they're just missing the same scare factor. I think what Michael was saying about Glorfindel being inconsistent. In my mind, if you've got a list with a load of might, you can feed Glorfindel one lad a turn, and he's only got 3 heroic combats in him. And I just don't find that scary anymore. A hero with heroes with 3 heroic combats completely changes that. But I don't find Glorfindel that scary for that reason. So no, this one cast as scary.
Nice.
What do you think, Tom?
I probably agree. I think this one is probably my pick to do the most. I think I would order them: the Saruman Galadriel one, then the Rivendell one, then the Dwarf one. But that's mainly because I'm just sleeping on the Dwarf aspect. I think the Dwarf one's like it's more dwarfy than Lake Towny, but it's already got the fight force. So why are you putting a fight? So you putting the Lake Town spears behind it and make wider. You could just make it survivors of Lake Town and put the survivors of Lake Town spears behind it. I don't know. Then they're cheaper and I don't know.
It feels more like it feels like the Mambo number 5 of lists, where it's got a little bit of lots, but at the end you keep on looking for one more girl or one more bit to chuck into your list.
Elias Black Riders. Anyone got anything to say about Black Riders?
No.
It's Black Riders. It's the full 9. It's bloody terrifying.
I like that it's all 9. I think that's just kind of cool in and of itself. I would like seeing all 9. I'd hate to face it. It's just gonna be grim as hell.
There's 19 might and 75 will.
Jeez, yeah.
It's so silly.
Behold.
It's so silly.
I mean, I think it's gonna cause people a real headache, especially as to pilot this sort of list effectively, you have to be a very good player, and I've no doubt the fella bringing it is a very good player. It's gonna have some matchups it'll struggle with depending on scenario and so on, because there is a fair amount of fight 5 elves, all hero forces like vanquishers and stuff at this tournament, so it's not going to have the easiest run potentially depending on who's going up to the top tables, but at the same time it could certainly do well, and it's a very powerful list.
I heard this lost to Wolves of Isengard, and I've now lost all respect for it.
I mean, but this is the thing: Wolves of Isengard, big horde of mounted models. Comparatively for an army that's all mounted. The Black Riders will be limited as to what damage they can do, because they've got to kill the orc and then see if the warg runs. That just comes down to dice. They really should run, but heroic combats are going to be less common, and you're going to be working through a lot of warg riders to actually chop through the opposition force, and then ultimately you lose a fight because you're 1 dice on the charge. They've got strength 4, they just need 6s to wound you, and I say just, but that's a 1 dice roll rather than 6s by 4s or by 5s. So yeah, I can see how that would be a difficult matchup actually, even though Wolves of Isengard does not get
I just like to say
respect from people.
It's just started raining in here, so it might start getting quite loud, so let me know if it gets there's a lot of background noise. I don't know how good this is at filtering it out.
I can't hear anything.
Oh, that's all right then. It's all right. I've also got this pure Lothlórien army that I picked out just because I like it.
I think it's a real sleeper.
I think Lothlórien's really, really good at the moment.
Thanks for sharing.
No, that's a classic Bert from Atomic Cast unqualified opinion.
Cool. So this is Galadriel. She is leading 8, 12, 13, 14. Well, there's all kinds of stuff in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 12 Galathrym warriors, 1 Galathrym knight, 2 guards of the Galathrym court, and 1 Wood Elf sentinel. You got Haldir with his heavy armor and a bow. He's got with him 11 Galathrym warriors and 2 Galathrym court. And then a captain on armored horse with 10 Galathrym warriors and 2 guard of the Galathrym court. So there's a bunch of bows, bunch of spicy elbows. There's a banner in there as well, obviously. Just 1. Maybe 2. If I was feeling Australian. And 6 of the Fight 6 pike sports in there.
It's around the 40s in model count, which Lothlórien can do fairly effectively. And I think Lothlórien used to get slated a lot as the weakest elven force, but we have seen over the last while sort of their rise to prominence in terms of what is picked when it comes to elven factions. I think simply because they can put forward the numbers, and it's a dice and numbers game at the end of the day. So if you're winning a lot of the combats because you've got fight 5 elven weapons too, eventually you'll roll enough wounds that you can whittle down the enemy force, and you've got a lovely magic caster behind you, along with some competent heroes. It can certainly do the job. So
it's not that scared of the wraiths. It's not that scared of dragon emperors. It's not that scared of assault on Lothlóriens because it can just walk in, like you can go toe to toe in the fight with them quite happily.
Yeah.
I think it's quite a nice kind of current meta pick because obviously you can pop your blinding lights up with Galadriel if you want. You've got your sentinel for a little bit of control there if you need it. I like the captain on horse.
I love the captain on horse. I think March is something that isn't included in the list often enough, and getting March and a mounted hero at fight 6. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's just be a bit of and add a bit of punch into one of the things.
It doesn't have a lance, does it?
It doesn't. No, I don't know if they have the option in Lothlórien.
Rivendell captains can have lances, can they?
He can go two-handed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think as far as battle lines go, it's fight 5 all the time, fight 6 where you need it, but with elven blades as well. And crucially, and someone may get tell me if I'm wrong, but Michael, you've been playing the game a long time. When Galathrym first came out, were they defense 4 and defense 5 with the shield?
No, that isn't. I don't know.
I don't recall back in the day.
Okay.
But
No, it's fine. But I think they're one of this. They don't look like they're that heavily armored. When you sort of hitting it, realize that it's actually a D6 wall again, and it's low to fight 5d6.
They look like more heavily armored than Rivendell do to me.
Yeah, I think it could be just from a back in the day thing. But yeah, it's an absolute horde of fight 5d6 with a chunk of fight 6 where you need it.
And the ability to just not die,
is
always massively underestimated here. Pretty much every model in this list can shield. There's a few like guys that can't, but like the pikes can shield as well, can't they? In this one? Yeah.
Have you seen the bow count on this list too?
It's big.
It's like 14 plus Haldir.
Big. It's glorious.
It's massive.
Yeah.
Which is just really, really, really good. And especially when you know that you can go toe to toe with the fight for terror walls and stuff. It means you can fire all those bows. You don't really need to whittle numbers down. So you can fire all those bow shots into heroes, into leaders, and with Haldir's might behind it as well. you really can do some wounds.
Mhm.
So I think it's a really cool, maybe not anti-meta, but I think it's a really cool thing given what's popular at the moment.
I've pulled a couple of like Mordor and friend lists up together. Mainly because of Bert's face. So they're both Mordor and friends, but they're slightly different to each other. So on the left we've got Mordor and Harad together, which you may have seen a few times before. So you've got the Witch King, Horse Crown, 6 Black Numenoreans, 6 Morannons with Shield Spear. Then the Shadow Lord on Horse, 9 Trackers, big Shaggers with some gear. I assume that's armor and shield. 6 Black Numenoreans and 6 Morannons with Shield and Spear. And then Sully on his horse, 2 Raiders, Bow and War Spear, and 1 Serpent Guard for points, one imagines. So 800 points, 40 models, 12 Fight 4d6 Terror guys at the front, 2 good spellcasters, because the Shadow Lord casts at the good casting value. Scylla down for a 6-inch banner, fight strength 4 spear sports, and then 9 little decent bows that are dead cheap. What's not to like?
Well, I think that this force has been sort of, it's come to the fore this year, certainly. I don't know where it was at the end of last year. I think it was brought to fame by Ashley Woolger of the Golems Gamers.
Stop inflating him. Stop validating Ash Woolger. It's not. It's really not.
We will see how it does at this event, but it's a really well written list, and with the right pilot, which it has in this case, it's got every chance of doing really well. But it's an all-comer list. It can really flex and adapt. It can take on the meta. It can deal with mostly anything that comes at it.
Like I said, I don't know what this comes up against that it hates. I really don't. So I guess a Dragon Emperor, but then I guess you're all D6, and it's not the worst. And then I think you can, with a decent barrage of magic, you can actually get the Dragon Emperor out of position. If you stop doing that kind of thing, you can really start messing their lines up. No, I like
This is when you like the dwarf infused late town list better, because of the strength 4 at the front, that can trade nicely with the Black Numenoreans. Trade quite efficiently.
Yeah. It's why I keep looking at. I don't know how to make the list good, because when you keep looking at these kind of Mordor lists or like the Dragon Emperor list, you're just going, Hearthguard are gonna rip through this like butter, and they'll charge it no issues, and they're the same fight value. You're winning them on 6s, they're winning you back on 4s. How cool is that? But it's just so hard to write the right list to get those teched into it, and to make it well rounded and point efficient. I think this is just a beautifully well rounded list. I think it's got a load of really cool tools in there, and I'm sure he'll pilot it really well.
Next to it, we've got a even more magically, mystically infused Mordor list with the Witch King with crown and horse, 6 Black Numenoreans, 6 Morannons with spear, shield, and he's noted that they've got an axe, plus an orc with a banner. Ooh, coward. You know who you are. A Shadow Lord on horse, 3 Black Numenoreans, 3 Morannons with spear and shield, 4 orc trackers, and a Warg Rider with shield. And then a Ring Wraith just on foot with 3 Black Numenoreans, 3 orc warriors, 4 orc trackers, and a Warg Rider. And then a Spider Queen and a bat.
I like the solo Wraith. I think they're really underrated for their points. I think they do a cracking job, because all they need to do is stay behind the lines. That's 2 turns worth of heroic moves for you. They bring the mark to the list, and they can just sit there on 1 will, not do anything, be really hard to kill with shooting. And crucially, just if the Witch King's off doing funky stuff if he needs to with a Spider Queen the other side of the board. It gives you that I guess in this case third source of Harbinger. And you just convert that cheeky one dice transfix in the inconvenient places. But I think the extra cheap 2 might and large. It's just cool.
Yes, and the Ring Wraith I think becomes incredibly valuable later in the game.
Yeah.
Once resources are depleted elsewhere, and you can. He's 5/5, so he's got that. He's 5/5 and D8. So as a hero kind of roadblock, you can go into things and slow them down nicely. He's got the magic and might that you can bank pretty easily, and then later on in the game, once the other 2 more reliable casters have used up the any hero's resources, you can just ping in little transfixes and things to be annoying. There's so much will and so much control here, plus all the terror and the Harbinger. Yeah, you can just stick in a Ring Wraith with it's got a really reliable courage as well, just for late game standfasts and things. So if you send him, like his little warband, off to go and sit on an objective somewhere, or just a Ring Wraith and a few trackers, just sitting on an objective over in the opposite corner of the map somewhere, you can't send some troops over there because the Ring Wraith's going to kind of just Harbinger them away and go and deal with them where he needs to. The trackers will shoot them out. They're not going to run away because the Ring Wraith's going to keep them around. You send a hero over to deal with him, he's going to get pinged off with transfixes or black darts or something. Like, he just adds that little bit of kind of reliability somewhere. Then with the Spider Queen, where you can again transfix, compel things out of the way, and then pull the Spider Queen into them. She works really nicely as that little kind of finisher for things.
So we were saying earlier about how the double caster plus Gwai here means that you can maximize Gwai here. Well, I think the Spider Queen's better than Gwai here, especially for the points and the added tools with group links and stuff. With 3 casters and the terror stuff as well, you're really, really, really going to guarantee that the Spider Queen can do whatever the hell she wants to.
She kills stuff exactly the same as Gwai does. But she doesn't have, because she's 2 attacks, 3 on a charge, knockdown, strength 6.
But rerolls all failed wounds.
Yeah, rerolls all failed wounds.
Yeah. And then she's also got her babies. But Gwai we were talking about Gwai having enchanted blades on him, so he also rerolls failed wounds.
Yeah.
So the only thing she doesn't have is fly, so you can't protect her as reliably. You can't sit her behind your lines as effectively as you could have Gwai to like ping out onto things. But yeah, she also brings bats with her, which bats.
If she gets charged by one fella to tie her up, you can potentially somewhat reliably black dart that person to death to get her moving in your move phase. The nice thing about this triple caster too is that you can reliably, I would say, 1 turn a hero's will resource, or just completely nerf them from doing anything to you unless they get really high dice rolls on their courage tests, because all 3 of those casters can throw a cheeky drain courage on a really powerful 200-point hero or something, and suddenly they're not going to be charging you half as reliably during the rest of the game, because they go, do I take a drain courage and save my will for the inevitable transfixes if the Spider Queen gets into me, or do I try to save myself going down to courage 1 for the rest of the game? And that's
even Glorfindel struggles to kind of get through that amount of magical barrage.
Yeah, even if he were to target Glorfindel, sure, but that against Lake Town could destroy the master fairly quickly, and then you move on to your other targets. But yeah, I think it's an interestingness. It's got that really that European vibe of casters and Spider Queen combination, and again a very good pilot. Relative unknown, of course, but yeah, it could do very well.
Cool. And I put this little Assault on Lothlórien list in. Have a little look, because we have talked about Assault on Lothlórien on the way through, and how it's kind of your bogeyman at the moment. I don't know if 800 feels like a bit of a reach for it. I'm not sure.
Oh, I love it at higher points.
You took this to Gondolin, didn't you? At 800, but with more models.
I did. I probably had less models because I tend to go a bit heavier on the beast count.
I think an almost identical list has been submitted for Newbury as well. So I think this gentleman and the gentleman coming to Newbury chat list building quite a bit, and I think an almost identical list has been submitted for mine. I think we spoke about Assault and Lothlórien quite a lot at this point. The Wild Chieftain is one of those. I think it will always do things. I think some rate more numbers, some rate more beasts over it. I think this is a list that just rewards options, and if it's a skilled pilot, and I think we know who's piloting this, and he's done very well with this list. I think he took second at the most recent 100. So he knows what he's doing, and actually having. I think for me, it's also you can enrage a Wild Chieftain. They're not going to die in that turn, and also that ability to go. You can't just protect your hero from one round of combat. You have to protect your hero against an enraged Wild Chieftain during the heroic combat as well, and even just the threat of it, because you have to position against it before the chieftain's even called it. And in a way, just the threat alone is like that 2 layers of protection. It really shuts down enemy heroes. So I think it's a really cool thing, with still a cracking model count.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. It's slightly different in the way I build my own force. But that's I'm a huge fan of Assault and Lothlórien, despite the inevitable hate it gets from certain people. I think the fact that it's a legendary legion, and yet it's not so prescriptive because it can be built in so many ways and still achieve results in the right hands. It's definitely an interesting list to build and to play with. And in this case, for example, you've got the Wild War Chieftain in there, a variety of casters, and you've still got some spiders and bat sort of representation, as well as a wee dose of orc and goblins working together. So, this is probably an example of the most well-rounded sort of way of building the list that incorporates everything that it has available to it, except potentially the Warg Marauder, but that's pretty much, and an Orc Shaman. Those are some niche options you could build in, but yeah, I was glad to see the injection of this list into this because I'm usually the one over here that runs Assault and Lothlórien. So without me in the event, it was almost going to be not there, and I'm sure everyone was very happy to know that until, of course, this person submitted their list. So yeah, we'll see how they do, but I'd expect them to give it a good go and certainly to threaten a lot of people.
I think it does quite nicely where there is that kind of model cap at 80, and no one's bringing too high a model count as well. I find at the really lower at the lower points especially, it just gets outnumbered by things, and then it really struggles to get going. But it feels like it's got one of the highest model counts here, which is going to really serve it well with getting the traps and things off that it benefits from in combat. Because I find, it sometimes gets outnumbered at the lower points, but it seems to have done all right here. 56.
It was 56 models. It's, you've got a few sort of 60 model armies kicking around. There's the 80 model army. There are a number around the high 40s, low 50s range. And the thing is, like, I personally find those lists daunting when you're matched against them, because often they can be stuff that has a higher fight value than you, like the Dragon Emperor Legendary Legion, Morning Orc Horde with their sort of Bat Numenorian frontline D6 and stuff. They can be hard to go against. So yeah, I think you'll be needing to use some bow superiority here to whittle down those numbers against those lists. But against the elite lists, it should have a better time, depending.
Yeah, we mentioned Dragon Emperor a lot. I haven't put any Dragon Emperor lists on this slideshow, purely because we all know what they look like now, and we've spoken about them 50 million times. I'm bored of them. They're all the same. It's a Dragon Emperor and a whole bunch of lads. That's it.
The only thing worth saying is there are some which just do Emperor, Ratabi, and Blorgir, and there are some that track in a capture as well. With another classic Atomic Cards Unqualified opinion, I think the captain build's really cool because you can still get a decent model count. It's a load of 5 D6 labs, and you can get them moving 12 inches at a turn with March. And I think that's really good and really cool with some more might for causing combat. So you just did that additional option to do like a combat strike combo with Ratabi and stuff. But yes, we have done it to death.
Yeah. And at the risk of his head not fitting through the door, we've also had the recent rise of a previous GBHL champion taking a Dragon Knight infused Easterling build for the host of the Dragon Emperor, which could rise to fame if it's piloted well. So we'll be watching that space. Like,
we'll see.
Then we've got here this resplendent Mahud army, which I just love it. So you got 3 Mahud kings all on camels with war spears and shields.
Awesome.
There are each one of them has a camel friend with them, and then 2 half trolls, a bunch of warriors with spears and blowpipes. Then there's a warband with just a tribes master on foot, another camel, 2 more half trolls, and 4 more warriors. The half trolls, they've paid the point to change the weapons to axes, so that they can piercing strike if they want to, and then paid the points to give it a turn of club. They've correctly worked out, but it doesn't say replaced, so they get to 200 club as well, just for a bit of added pizzazz. But yeah, I think it's going to be. I think it's a lot of fun, and it just murders things if it hits them hard enough. Unfortunately, it does also die really quickly, but it does murder stuff. And that's my favorite thing to do. 3 kings on camels.
I'm just looking forward to the 3 kings from camels hitting a Lake Town line. And just doing did I just kill 15 troops without you rolling a dice? Oh, I'm so sorry, sir. And then just suddenly being banged, knocking Saruman off his horse. Just when that just 100% should not be happening. I'd love to see that happen. And the best bit is it's not even the heroes. You're just seeing just one random camel can just go careening through a line of D4 troops, and that's awesome.
It also works really nicely into Assault on Loth because they tend to be D4. They also, where you've got kind of 7 impact hits, you can throw into stuff. If you can get some multiple camels into one hero, it can really hurt D6 heroes. Because you can put a couple of 3 strength 4 hits onto them essentially, and they can genuinely, if you manage to get a couple of camels into one thing, there's a good chance you're going to get at least 1 wound on that hero before you've even managed to roll dice, and then you've got the strength 5 guys with the war spear from the kings coming in, and they can just mop it. Like, heroes are terrified. The war spears obviously work on the heroic combats as well, so you can lob them in, heroic combat, go through.
Do the impact hits work for heroic combats?
Yes, the impact hits work as soon as they hit something. So yeah, they can, and they also have the nice terror thing with their army bonus. So when the hero is charged, when the hero is in combat, everything within 6 inches is fearless. So by having a lot of different heroes spread out across the lines, they can get that going quite reliably, which means that they're not too scared of charging into terror lines. They're not. The kings are courage 5, like they're pretty reliable. Charge. So that will be quite fun. The only thing that concerns them is that their fight value is really low, but they have got 8 half rolls in there, which is just delightful. I love it.
Yeah,
I'm not sure it's
half
good.
rolls are scary.
I love it. Like, you'll do all right, but I don't think it's winning anything. But I love it. It's winning my heart, and that's all that counts.
It could certainly make an impact. Farharad is not something we see too much over here, so it's lovely to have its representation at the event. It's sort of a half troll front line with axes, so potential for strength 6 there.
I think
It's,
the Lincoln GBHL scene took an absolute battering from camels and half trolls early season. Aaron Pullen just decided that the East Midlands just needed to get a battering from camels.
It also,
do
there was an
multiple events.
absolutely cursed list that won a massive event in America, or massive for America, where it was just kings and half trolls and nothing else.
Oh, it was like their Nova Open. It was like their Ardicon.
Yeah, it was their like biggest
qualifier.
event of the year, and it
Yeah.
just got won by like 30 half trolls. And I
And
was
the-
like,
and-
what is
and the-
this?
So the guy won it, and then I don't think he knew that it was an Ardicon qualifier. And then he was told about it, and he went, "Oh yeah, that sounds cool. I'll definitely go." So I sincerely hope he ended up just taking the same list to Ardicon Masters and just wrecking people's day.
It's
it'd be
glorious.
very funny.
And then my next slide is all of the lists that are just like pure wild cards. So if you're on this list, I love you, but you know it's cool. So top left we've got Vanquishers Necromancer, Saruman, Gandalf, Radagast, Ladriel, and Elrond.
Mr. Spruel, gotta be right.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, I have to unveil him because with his list he sent a lovely picture of the two of us in the Vanquishers. So that was
Is
it was
it
really
is it
special. I think I'm going to
Crabagast?
frame that. Huh?
Is it Crabagast?
No, because
So he won't have Crabagast. He might bring him just for the crack, but at 800 points you just get the foot 5. Yeah.
Oh, it's 845 is the full one.
Yeah.
Then we've got the Mordor, Harrod, Canned, Easterling, All Hero Fellowship list. We have Suladan, Amber, Dragon Knight, Shadow Lord, Gothmog, a King on Chariot. Oh no, and a Cataphract. Okay, cool. I don't understand.
The theory behind
I
it
do.
is
These are all decent heroes. So
Yeah.
you've got Suladan with like a 6-inch banner. You got Amdur with Blood and Glory.
and Strike. So he's
You've got
competent. Like
I think
Dragon
yeah,
Knight, strikey stuff. Shadow Lord, Pile of Darkness, really good caster. Gothmog, Master of Battle,
yeah,
and just strikey fun. King on Chariot because chariots are fun.
and they'll run through stuff.
Yeah.
But I think it's a fun list with a very, very skilled pilot
Oh, I missed the Fell Beast on the
who could do
Shadow
very
Lord as
well.
well. Glorious.
Yeah. So it can really make an impact. But I think that the purpose is to go, well, look, it's easy enough to make a sort of a soupy good list. Could you make a soupy or hero list for evil? And well, this is their first shot at competing in a tournament with one. So we'll see how it goes.
it's different tools, but I think the one crucial difference is I think when you're writing hero like very hero heavy lists for good, outside of like Rides of Vernon, fight 6 really matters. Just so that you know when you're charging into a battle line, you don't need to strike it. You can just combat your way through. And I think that's why Amdur is going to need to do some serious work, some real work in this list, because you can, thankfully, with things like Gothmog and Amdur with Blood and Glory, you shouldn't run out of might for moves. But I think when you're fight 5 and running into a fight 5 line, you're kind of going to need to strike, and you're going to need to spend a load of might on moves and winning fights. I would love to see this do well. I also love to see the Carnage King just kill like 20 late counters in a turn, because fishermen can just go and rot in a hole.
I think it sees the Lothlórien list with all that fight 5 and a bit of fight 6 and goes, crap.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You've outfoxed me there, Chief.
I mean, there's a Bears list coming to this as well.
There's Bears, there's like 5 Dragon Emperors or something stupid.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to see it do well. Like 3 years ago, it'd be a ton of fun. I think now there's just that. I mean, hell, this looks at like. Have you got a defenders list? I think you've got one.
There was one.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, there's looks at defenders and goes, oh, hits. Fairly consistently. So I'd love to see it do well. I think they could just be a scenario or two where it has a bad time. but
Oh, yeah.
mad respect to the guy running it, and I love it. I love that he has.
The Azog with Signal Tower, White Warg, Heavy Armor, Stone Flail, 445 point model. Good and Bad Ogres, 2 of them, 9 Berserkers and 4 Bats is such a cursed but glorious list as well. This is what I'm interested to see. What have you done with the Signal Tower? How have you allowed it? What's it look like?
It's a beautifully crafted, handcrafted tower that's about 10, 11 inches tall, about 8 inches wide, maybe a bit wider at points. It's quite a chunk of it's quite a piece. It's built semi-openly, so you can go inside, you can climb the winding staircases. It's quite accessible. And the guy running it is an absolute gent. He's absolutely lovely, very skilled in the hobby as well as good on the sort of a good gamer. But he's mindful that, you know, bringing such a unit, nobody encounters it ever, and it could game break in certain situations, and there are arguably situations where it needs rulings on stuff. So he's been in touch as soon as he was wanting to take it, and been like, look, here's some potential FAQs I've thought of, can you answer them for me, and you know, how's it going to work in these situations? And I thought of a few more, I think, and so we sort of clarified that just to make sure that you know, that this will fit within the game without being too disruptive or unpleasant. And in fact, it should be really good fun for everyone. But yeah, there's been situations, and feel free to ask your questions, but where I have to say, well, you know, we have to not let this sit on top of objectives, for example. So if it's on top of an objective, the objective actually goes on the floor of the tower. Your models start at the top of the tower, just things like that. You know, there's some buffs, some nerfs in how I've treated it with him. But yeah, fantastic player, lovely model, well worth a look at. And yeah, really fun to have it at the event.
I think it's appeared on Edwards. I think Harry Parker was playing against it, and he was raving about it, saying it's a beautiful piece, and the guy was a jet to play against. So I'd love to see pictures.
Harry played it last year. Yeah,
that was it.
There's another one where there was a fairly cursed incarnation of it in an American event a couple of years ago. Again, it was a really big American event, Nova or the other one they have that's really big. And someone had brought essentially the same list but just Berserkers. And they'd worked out that their Signal Tower was just about big enough that they could entirely block off sections of the board with it in the terrain channels. And then so they were just placing it down and saying, right, bam, your entire army can't fit through here. So it's got to go a long way around to get to so seize the prize. They're just going, bonk, there you go, you can't get round. So I'll try and quickly do what a Signal Tower does off the top of my head, but are you going to fact check me on this? It's more fun if I try and work it out.
Okay, so we're doing this like a game show. Okay, go for it.
So the first thing is that as a thing, it's a physical entity that exists. You can place it after.
That's my favorite first guess at what it does ever. It's a physical entity.
We're saying
that
guess.
Exists.
I did strongly consider making one at one point, so I think I have a rough idea. So it physically exists, and you can physically place it on the board. Is it before deployment or after deployment you put it down?
Before deployment, but after you decided on board edges.
Yes. And there's no restrictions on where you can put it. So if you're playing like Recon, you can just drop it right at the edge of their board.
Anywhere on the battlefield.
Yes. You then have, is it 7 lieutenants?
7 lieutenants, yep.
7 lieutenants. And they each have a point of might, will, and fate.
Yes.
So they're essentially like cheap, good and bad captains each.
Yeah.
So you get them free with the Signal Tower. The Signal Tower is 200 points.
Yep.
So if you say a good and bad warrior is what, like 9 points on its own?
Yeah.
And then based on ring race, you pay 15 points for those extra bits of stats. About 25 points for each one of these models. You get 7 of them. So there's 140, 175 points worth of stuff. You paid 200 points for it. Enjoy. Then they deploy on the Signal Tower. So again, if you're playing Recon, you can drop them on the Signal Tower and just walk off the board. You win. Enjoy. If you're playing Season of Prize, you can drop it on top of the prize, collect the prize, you win, enjoy. That kind of stuff. It's great fun. Then you have the 4 things on top. So it's got 3 banners and a horn.
Yes.
So you've got 1 banner that gives it like a board-wide banner.
You've
got so that's already an insane amount of points worth of points for a board-wide banner. You've then got 1 banner that gives them all a 6 up feel no pain, but if it's a berserker, it gets a 5 up feel no pain because it's already got 1.
It supersedes other rules that confer similar effects. I don't know whether that means that it conflates with it or replaces it. I think it means. I think it means it goes first. So I think it's I think berserkers get 2 6-up saves.
I'd have to double check. I think I was thinking it was 2. You could have 2 rolls at a 6 per.
Yeah, that's how I think it reads.
I don't think it stacks. I think yeah.
So there's the banner, there's the thing, there's a horn, which is courage or some crap.
Yep. It's like the goblin drum, courage up for you, courage down for them.
Yeah. And then there's the other banner.
The banner of Gundabad.
What does that one do, Precious?
Free march.
Ah, yes. Free march. Yes.
So you do suddenly have Azog on the White Warg moving 15 inches a turn for free.
And extra warband space?
I mean, yes. I feel like so this is why I want to run the highest point event ever. Like I'd like to run like a 1-day 80 at 1,300 points. And just let someone bring this, but also bring like 50 models, and then watch how board-wide banners and free marches and the courage things actually affect stuff.
It's so like it's stupid. It's weird to say it, but it might actually be the most cost-efficient piece of war gear in the game.
If we regularly played games for 5,000 points, it would be the single best bit of war gear in the game by a mile.
It's up there with the Crown of Morgul as like the best bit of war gear in the game, point for point. But it's 200 points, and it's just so expensive. But my God, is it glorious! And then to go full ham and just bring 2 ogres, 9 berserkers, and 4 badgers. You know what? Fuck it. We're either winning this game or we're losing it, one way or the other. But whatever happens, it's going to be cracked, and like you're going to win a few games just from like the signal tower being a bit weird and the pure mobility in here. Nothing in here moves less than 8 inches. Plus, you've got the free marches, so everything's moving at least 10 inches. Like,
hang on, well, at least 11, because berserkers and ogres are both move 8, aren't they?
Yeah, at least 11. 10 because it's a nicer number than 11. But yeah, at least 11 inches.
You've got a wee cyclone of death running around the tower, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then because the blokes can leave the tower, can't they?
Yeah. If you want the effects to work, the banners and horn have to be manned. You can obviously optionally choose which ones you do, but there's 7 and 4 things to watch over. So 3 can leave, and you can be happy enough. I mean, it's sort of some of the rulings I've made. Yes, you can absolutely put the tower next to the opponent's board edge on recon, but all your lads are starting on top. So if they do their free marches, it's going to be 2 moves. I think we worked it out as down to the bottom of the tower, and therefore on your 3rd turn you can run off if you're able to run off. So it's not, it's not an immediate advantage. We could just start on a tower floor and run 7 people off. But it does still give your opponent a headache because they've got to go, right, well, we've got to get to the exits of the tower to stop them inevitably running off here.
It's such a hard thing to like balance because from aesthetics, you want to build a big, tall tower and make it look really cool. But then it's really hard because obviously if they spend a turn in base contact with the things on top, they can destroy them.
They can, yeah, but it'll take you, as I said, a few turns to get up there. You've got to fight your way up there.
That kind of point of things, you kind of want to build it low to the ground and fairly flat to give your opponent access to the top things to make them have a chance at destroying it. But then you go, well, actually, if I make it flat, then the lieutenants and stuff can get off it easily, and like so many things that you can like. Yeah, it's such a fine. It's why we don't have a model for it. It's because
and I think if you're playing the game in the spirit that we try to play the game in, you want to make this model as a sort of a fun and accessible thing, and this player has absolutely done that, in my opinion, and has just shown that he intends it to be that sort of model rather than something you use quite oppressively in the game to try and break it and break it in your favor. What he could do is start the tower on the edge of the board at recon and throw his lads off the top and hope that they survive the 10 impact hits to with their fate point, their wound, and so on to try and get off the board immediately, just instantly. You could do that, and I'm sure he's the sort of bloke who would think of that. It'd be quite funny. But yeah,
I love that. Yeah, it's glorious. I love it. And then this little number in the corner, you just Bolg, a Gundabad captain, and 23 bats.
I have real PTSD from a similar list where it's unnumbered tiers last year. I played against the guy who either owns or runs, I think owns Sanctuary Gaming up near Nottingham. And I got battered really, really hard. And it's just things like just turning off your banners, getting into your D6 heroes, and suddenly working out that they're actually really squishy and take double strikes. And it's not a big model count, but in terms of base size, it takes up a lot of area, and it's very hard to protect against things. And they don't care about control zones. They don't care whether it's in the second rank. They'll just knock things over for a laugh. And some of them will die.
Yes, that's the big one. Is the fact that you can just fly over stuff and hit them with a strength 4 hit, and just bugger off. I think, is it Jeremy Wong up in Scotland?
I think Jeremy likes them. I think Jeremy likes these. I think around Nottingham, I think there's definitely. I think World Champion may have started, but there's definitely a few of them definitely clocked that. Warbats be good. Warbats are really, really, really good at a large number of scenarios. Like playing recon against this, is that a thing you want to do? Do you want to play Sea of the Prize against this?
No lemon pledge.
Yeah. There's just a load of stuff you don't. I mean, if you're talking strength 4 hits, do your late town, like they don't care about blinding lights? Do your late town bullet play against this?
Yeah. It's again, it's one of those lists that it has potential, definitely, and it's got, assuming Ball can sort of keep his warg, it's got a lot of potential to do a lot of impact, but it's got the advantage from being one of those absolute skew lists that you'll struggle to figure out quickly, or at least a lot of players will, how to deal with it, because it's so new. It's not something you see every day. A bit like the Signal Tower, a bit like the sort of evil soup list there. These are things you don't encounter, and when you don't encounter something, you're instantly on the back foot, because you've got to factor that into your normal gameplay. How do I respond? How do I mitigate the opponent's threats that I don't maybe fully understand, or there's so many that some might slip through? And I think that this could also take advantage of that.
It's 23 kind of warrior models, but that's still. Are they only 2 wounds each, or they put in more?
They're 2 wounds.
I think they're 2,
but
yeah.
It's 46 wounds, which is as many wounds worth of warriors as most of the other lists have.
Yeah. Which and if you're on your bum, you can't do wounds.
Yeah, they're fight 3, are they?
They don't care when they're flying over you.
I don't know, to be honest. But yeah, they're super punchy, which is having a lovely time. I think it's such a fun little thing. Prop. That's why it's on the cursed page at the end here. I love it. But All right, and then I just had a little. Our last few lists. There are a few like honorable mentions, but I feel like we didn't necessarily need to discuss too hard. But there's like an 800 point Ugluk Scouts coming.
Yep.
Which is quite nice. That's just everything you could possibly bring from Scouts. You've got there's a few Ministeriefs with like multiple siege weapons coming along, which would be quite interesting to see. They seem to have remembered that bolt throwers exist.
Yeah, I like if it was like weird GBHL culture things now, where we just go siege weapons, boo, and this is the Ministerief, and everyone goes, yay, they're fun. So
give me a Legendary Legion for atop the walls from Ministerief with Gandalf the White and siege weapons.
Yes.
Blinding light siege weapon. Let's go.
Yeah.
Ruin everyone's fun.
And like this is coming from me.
Beamy.
This is coming from me of all people. I really don't want to see it. I don't want to see it.
But it's beamy, Bert.
Also, I like how this is. Yeah, you haven't got a single Assault on Helm's Deep list.
We don't, and as you know, well, I hate Assault on Helm's Deep, so I'm glad of that. Although, you know, if yourself was coming, you might have opted to bring it, and I'd have to allow it because it's you, Bert. But instead, people sought to do my head in by bringing Ministerief siege weapons. So we'll see how they hit. There's, you know, bolt throwers are bolt throwers. It's a couple trebuchets that are coming.
I think there are enough tools to deal with them. At the top end of the event, I think a lot of them have like tools tacked in to deal with that kind of thing.
There's Shadow Lords. There's Assault on Loth. There's Blinding Lights. There's there's Galadriels and things aplenty at the top who will just kind of deal with them. They'll do okay. You've got 50 odd players. They'll go 3 or 4 and they'll be in the top, like between 5 and 15. That's where those will be, I reckon.
Maybe one of them. Yeah.
All right.
I think this may.
Which one's winning the event? And is it one of these two?
Sorry, user cutting in and out there. Sorry.
So I think the winner of this event is coming from this page. I think it's either the Mordor Harrod or the Mordor Spider Queen. I think it's one of these two.
Out of these two, I think the list that's going to win the event is the Lake Town Doublecast with Whitehair.
Yeah?
Yeah. Because I want Lake Town to go. I want Lake Town to dominate the podium just before the August FAQ. And then we can see the bam hammer just hit that.
I think I want to stress this point enough to all the nice people at home. When was the last time Lake Town actually won a thing?
I don't care. I don't care. I want it gone.
Because everyone's like, so good.
Comment down below if you agree with me. You just want it gone.
I sympathize. I run it myself, so obviously I'd be keen to see it not nerfed. But I understand people's sort of annoyance that it's a bit like Galadriel idea, like back in the day, when she was Valor. You can just drop it into a force and it immediately enhances it and covers a lot of bases. So I get that argument. I would just like to see if it's nerfed. I would like to see a bit of give and take with it. So, you know, I've thought about if you drop the master to Fortitude in yellow and red alliances, but in green and pure, he could be Valor still. And then if you change the alliance matrix so that he would be that list would be like Army of Lake Town would be green with Halls of Thranduil, which it really should be in my opinion. That would be a sufficient nerf, whilst at the same time not isolating the list to being barely seen again.
Yeah, there's definitely things that you can do. I think it is things like even from a theme point of view, it should be impossible to ally with Erebor Reclaimed.
That is a weird one. I do think that's weird.
How dare you?
Yeah, I know. This is aimed at you, Top Patterson. But it should actually. It doesn't happen. Erebor is reclaimed, and then instantly Lake Town is gone. It doesn't exist. It's the actual dictionary definition of impossible allies.
The master literally said to Thorin, like, "Welcome, King under the Mountain."
Thorin's company crack right onto. Erebor reclaimed them. Rot in hell.
Well, keep me right. Are there not still a few of the company in Lake Town when the dwarves enter the mountain, technically reclaiming it?
But those dwarves haven't they haven't reclaimed Erebor. They haven't picked up their big armor and pointy weapons yet. They're still Thorin's company. Then they haven't reclaimed Erebor. This matters to me.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. So
we know it's going to get nerfed because I got Lady of Light, painted her up, put her in my ministerial list, ran it, like recorded a battle report. By the time the battle report was published on our YouTube, she'd already been taken.
I think that is the way to do it. Because Harry did the same thing.
We know it's happening because I've been running nothing but Lake Town all year, so therefore it's going in the bin.
We'll record a bat rep on like July 27th.
Sorry if you can hear that, Rain. That's loud. I can't hear a word you're saying. On my little tin roof. So you think this is going to win, Bert? Yep. I reckon it's going to be one of them Mordor lists. Michael, any predictions from you, sir?
I'm sorry to do this. I honestly have none because I invited a lot of people from overseas to this, and I got some interest from people I hadn't met before. And it seems to have attracted a fair amount of the best and brightest from other countries as well as our own. So not only do we have a good showing from our community, but we've got top players from the GBHL, from Scotland, Finland, Holland, Belgium, France, Germany. These are the lads coming over. So you have a lot of people who could potentially win this tournament, but you have a lot of noted competitive people coming over to vie for top spot, and they've brought some great lists amongst them, and it really is. I'm a cautious betting man. I would not be putting a wager here because anyone
that is untrue. We have played cards at GBHL100, sir. That is absolutely not true.
When it comes to cards, I'm a wild card, but no, when it comes to anything else, I'd be careful where I put my money in, and I have no horse in this fight as well because I have to remain impartial. But you've highlighted sort of a couple very good lists there, 3 very good lists actually, the 2 of you. Those 3 all have a chance, absolutely, but there's plenty others.
We'll be following along.
How can we follow along, Michael? If we're
so, I'll do my best to keep the page updated with the matchups. So that usually those are done in order of position. So if you have player 1 and player 7 at the top, and then player 8 and player 42 next, he's got sort of top table, second table, and so on. That'll be one way of doing it, and then I'll try to do some post-event coverage with who won, also obviously with publicizing the results and the award winners with their awards, just so people know what to sort of look forward to next year. But yeah, no, it'd be great to have you following along, and there's certainly a lot of high-profile characters coming over and gracing the tournament, with a lot of local legends too, from all around the island of Ireland. So yeah, really looking forward to it.
Will we see you next week for a little recap? No.
I would love that if you'll have me, and hopefully it goes well enough that I'll be keen to talk about it.
Is it going to be an exclusive Atomic Carbs recap?
Will you be what? Sorry.
Will it be exclusive?
Exclusive. It could be. Nobody else has approached me for a recap, and I know I'd approached you for a recap. So yes, I could sign over the rights for the right fee. But no, again,
you heard it here
thank
first,
you for having me on.
An exclusive Atomic Cards event recap of Nírnaeth.
Arnoediad.
The only podcast to correctly put the accent on the I.
Absolutely, and pronounce the name pretty much. So yeah. Well done, guys.
Well, anyway, yeah, we'll round it out there. If there's anything else you have to, any closing thoughts, anything else you need to say, or we all Gucci.
I just can't wait to be there next year.
I'm really looking forward to having you. And Tom, I do hope you can find some way to get the time off to come. But obviously, I know you have the pressures of life to deal with too in your business. But I genuinely I can't thank you enough for the exposure you're giving my humble event, guys. I really appreciate you. One, your company, but two, the opportunity to talk about it with good pals and great people in the community who are doing great work for the community. So thank you so much. We really
And no,
appreciate
we were
it.
telling people about the fact that I exposed myself to you.
That's for the show after.
It's a special Patreon exclusive.
It happened before we clicked record. It was really horrific time to jump on.
All right, cheers, guys, and thanks for sticking with us. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.